digital cable. And we're ready to go. Sidney Ponson to Grady Sizemore, who's been very quiet in the series. 1 for 9 with 3 strikeouts. And if you want to beat the Indians, one good place to start is to keep Grady Sizemore off the bases.
Well, that's right, Ryan. He's such a great player, such great numbers, great leadoff hitter. And like we said yesterday, that the Indians probably won't be this bad offensively all year, so you have to just strike while the iron is hot.
Here's Eric Wedge's lineup today, presented by M&I Bank. Changes at the bottom of the order. Tony Graffinino back in there at second base. So as Drupal Cabrera moves over to short, Johnny Peralta is not in the lineup today. Billy Butler, nice play on a hot shot from Sizemore over to Ponson for the first out. Always a nice way to start the game with a good defensive play.
Well, Billy's been doing a great job moving around. He's a little lighter right now. He does a super job going to his left. The spirit is ball, but he didn't panic. He had got his weight coming back to first base and fed Sidney Ponson right in the chest. Outstanding play by Billy.
And now Mark DeRosa. And Alex covers the hole on the left side. 5 pitches, 2 outs. Here's the Kia pitcher's report on Sidney Ponson. He has never beaten the Cleveland Indians. Now, that's only half the story. He's 0-7, but his earned run average against Cleveland is 9.15. It's the only American League team he has never beaten.
But with that number of starts, that's pretty hard to believe. You'd think you just luck up on one every just 5 innings, get out of there, but that's having a guy's number right there.
13 games, 0-7.
Around that first ball to Billy, if you weren't ready to play today, that ball will wake you up and get you going. So if he was asleep over there, he's awake the rest of the game.
Victor Martinez has had a very productive series. 5 hits, 8 at-bats, off to a .394 start. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Martinez behind the plate on Monday, played at first base yesterday, and back behind the plate today. Two and two. The best weather day by far we've had at Kauffman Stadium. 59 degrees, expected to get up into the mid to upper 60s today. Game started on time. Official time and temp presented by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCA. But both pitchers are going to have to be careful with right-hand batters with a very strong wind blowing out to left. Ponson gets 3 ground balls and knocks down the Indians in order in the top of the first. field today, not only in Kansas City, but in all the American and National Leagues, will be wearing number 42. That's a tradition started accidentally by Ken Griffey Jr. a couple of years ago playing with the Reds. He asked Commissioner Bud Selig on this day if he could wear number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson. Last year, then, several teams designated players to wear number 42, and other teams decided everyone would wear 42, and so the Royals and Major League Baseball taking it a step further, and everyone wears number 42 today. Here's Trey Hillman's lineup, brought to you by M&I Bank. Willie Bloomquist in there today at second base. John Buck is the designated hitter, batting fourth for the first time this year, with Miguel Olivo back in there at catcher, and Tony Pena Jr. will be at shortstop to give Sidney Ponson some added defense. Coco 1 hit in the series, but 4 walks. He scored twice and has driven in a run. Facing left-hander Aaron Laffey, who began the year in the minor leagues, didn't make the Indians out of spring training. Left-hander Scott Lewis did, but he's on the disabled list, opening the door for Laffey. This is his 5th start against the Royals.
Laffey will be depending on his sinking fastball today. He's a ground ball pitcher and will drop down with 2 strikes against left-handers.
Still 1-2. Kia tells us more about Aaron Laffey. Today is his birthday. He is 24 years old. 0-1 against the Royals last year. 2-2 in his career.
Laffey has good motion on his changeup, so if you got good motion and movement, that pitch will play big for you.
Two and two. Former 16th round draft pick of the Indians back in 03. One of those guys that fell in the draft because everyone was convinced he was going to go to college. He had a full ride to Virginia Tech. Indians gambled, took him in the 16th round. He got much better money than your typical 16th round pick, and never did become a Virginia Tech Hokie. I don't think Coco agrees with that. Sometimes hitters dash to first to try and fool the home plate umpire. I think Coco was convinced this was ball 4.
Well, Laffey's been staying out there the entire at bat, and he throws across his body a little deception. But we see that the umpires are pretty liberal on that corner if you stay right there and hit that glove over and over again.
Veteran umpire Charlie Relaford behind the plate today. Ball 1 on Willie Bloomquist. It's one of those pitches, if Coco swings at that pitch and misses, you could say, well, he swung at ball 4.
You would say that. And if he does hit it, it's probably going to have the guy in the on-deck circle saying, look out.
Bloomquist 1 for 10 to begin the year. It's the same pitch that Laffey used to get Coco, and it's 2-1. Off of Laffey and in a spot where no one can get it. A 1-on, 1-out in the first inning. Bloomquist snaps an 0 for 8.
Looks like a sweeping curveball that Willie just hit back through the middle, hit right off the left knee of Laffey, and just went to a nice part of the infield. He got him a nice base hit right there.
Laffey looked like a hitter, kind of turning the leg in to get hit by a pitch and get on base down in the count.
And I think DeRosa goes over and just put his foot down to stop the ball. Didn't even use his glove.
0-1 on David DeJesus, 3 out of 7. He scored twice and driven in his first run of the season in this series. David playing against a team he grew up rooting for from New Jersey, but his favorite player was Kenny Lofton, and at that time Lofton was playing for the Indians, so that made the Indians DeJesus' team. You can understand why David was a Kenny Lofton fan.
Kenny was a very exciting player, very excellent. He was an excellent leadoff hitter, excellent center fielder, played shallow, stole bases. He was exciting all the way around.
Hit hard up the middle, and that's past Graffinino. Bloomquist got a good break, and he'll go first to third. So the Royals have something going in the bottom of the first inning.
If Coco Chris had been able to get a walk in the leadoff spot, then that base hit by David DeJesus right there would have been really big for the Royals.
It's one little dimension right there. When speed comes up, immediately most people think about stolen bases, but things like going first to third.
And the Royals did that very well in spring training. That was one area of the game that they were going to push real hard in spring training. That, like I said, it takes getting a good jump off first base to make it happen.
Now John Buck. All he did last night was hit 2 home runs, including a grand slam, and drive in 5. The Royals turning a 1-run game into a 6-run game with 5 in the bottom of the 8th inning. So Trey Hillman says, "You want to bat 4th today?" 1-1. Charlie Relaford really giving Aaron Laffey that outside corner and then some. Two and one. Here's today's Toyota League leaders and the slugging percentage leaders in the American League. And there's John Buck. He's done all of that in just 3 games. We saw Nick Swisher play well in the series before this one. And last year's Rookie of the Year, Evan Longoria, already has hit 5 home runs for the Rays. 3-1 on John Buck.
Last season, John Buck would really pull his shoulder and try to pull the ball, but he bought into Kevin Seiss's theory in spring training of just staying focused in the middle, make sure you get a pitch you can handle, and to this point, he's done an outstanding job.
In case you're wondering, and I know you are, this is the 3rd game in John Buck's career that he has batted 4th. And he takes a walk. You're talking about an inch, maybe less, the difference between bases loaded 1 out and the first 4 Royals reaching to open this inning. But Coco Crisp taking a borderline pitch for a called 3rd strike. Everyone in the ballpark, aside from the home plate umpire, thought it was ball 4.
It looks like he's going to live on the outside corner to the right-handed hitters, and we haven't seen him get inside the right-hander, so you wonder if he can get his fastball to the extension side to the lefties, or will it run back into the left-handed hitter?
Mark Teahen has had some trouble with this pitcher. Laffey throws strike 1. Teahen is 0 for 6 in prior at-bats against Laffey. Teahen has Bloomquist down at 3rd, DeJesus at 2nd, Buck at 1st. 2 singles and a walk in the bottom of the 1st inning. There's that dropping down with the slider, and it's 0-2.
That's kind of a slurvy slider, but he gets it in a good spot, and by that arm angle and throwing across his body. It looks like he's throwing it behind Mark, and Mark kind of gave up on it and had to reach for it rather than stay with it and try to drive it to left center field.
And tried to slip a fastball by him. Tian had been batting fourth with Jose Guillen on the disabled list. So he can move down to the number 5 position, and Trey Hillman can break up his hitters, putting John Buck in between DeJesus and Tian. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the infield is playing in double play depth. They're back on both corners. If he can just even coax an average ground ball to first base, he may be able to beat it and avoid the double play.
Off the fist. Chu has an excellent arm in right field, and Bloomquist, even with his speed, isn't going to mess with it. So bases loaded, 2 down with Billy Butler coming up. Rest of the Indians defense, Ben Francisco and Grady Sizemore won a second Gold Glove last year with Shin-Soo Choo. DeRosa, Cabrera, Graffinino, Garco around the horn, and Victor Martinez calling the game for Aaron Laffey. So a shaky first inning for Aaron Laffey, but made a pretty good pitch on Tian, 2-2. That brings up Billy Butler, 3 hits, 7 at bats in this series with an RBI. Fastball at 88 for strike 1.
If Billy stays to the same plan that he used last night, and I think this is a good pitcher for him. He's going to stay out over the plate. He drive the ball back through the middle of the right field.
Laffey jumps ahead with 2 fastballs. It's 0-2. One ball, 2 strikes. This might be one of those games where Kevin Seitzer has to remind the guys to stay with the plan, because those big flags are pointing towards left field. Pretty stiff right to left wind, which is going to help anything in the air to left field and left center field. Buck tried to screen Garco, who is somehow able to find the ball and retire Billy Butler, and the Royals let an opportunity slip away against Laffey in the first. Has been taking us on a tour of the ballpark, all homestand.
You know, Ryan, I feel like I just move, a few feet towards left field a little more each night, and you get a different vantage point. I'm out here and very close to Coco Chris. Below me are 4 levels of seats. Fans are right on top of the action, and then really we've never seen anything like this before. Last night we were above the fountains. Tonight we're practically in them right down here. I mean, you can probably hear the noise behind me of the fountains. It's incredible out here. The sun is shining. It's packed. All the seats are sold. You got the dry ducks up above my right shoulder and the Crown Vision up above my left shoulder. Just incredible to see what's going on out here, and everybody seems to be having a good time, guys.
Joe, I'm guessing today is a much better day to be out there so close to that water than maybe one of the earlier games when it was windy and that mist was blowing all over the fans.
Yeah, and it just depends on which way it's blowing, and obviously if it's colder, it's a little bit worse. I've only gotten a couple little drops here and there of mist, but it has been fun just to watch people. And I didn't realize that on this level, you could really walk all the way around. I mean, there's so many different levels that if you go all the way down to the bottom ones, it kind of stops. But on this level, you can literally walk behind the batter's eye and get a chance to look right up at the Crown Vision, which standing underneath it is pretty imposing. But the mist, not too bad today, but the noise is very relaxing.
Thanks, Joel. 4-pitch walk. There's a little sample of the waterfall out in left center field. 4-pitch walk from Ponson to Travis Hafner, first base runner for the Tribe, after Ponson got the Indians in order in the first on 3 ground balls. Here's the Roadrunner turbo speed pitch from the first inning. Both pitchers relying more on control than they do power, so topping out in the low 90s, and now 6 in a row out of the strike zone, and Miguel Olivo is going to go out and chat with Sidney.
Just probably tell him to relax, take his time, slow down a little bit, and get the ball in the strike zone and let the defense help you. You don't want to try to strike out every hitter. You want him to hit the ball, but you want him to hit, you want him to hit the pitch you want him to hit, but you got to throw it over the plate.
2-1 on Chu. 2 hits, 9 at-bats in this series with an RBI. He batted cleanup last night. Travis Hafner had the game off. Now 3-1. Eric Wedge, be very careful with Travis Hafner coming back from that shoulder surgery, and early in the season they don't want him playing more than 2 games in a row. And the Indians are going to have 2 on with nobody out. So Chu ahead in the count, 3-1, as his 3rd hit of the series. And now Ryan Garco coming up. Royals are off tomorrow, but will travel to Arlington, Texas, and begin a 6-game road trip and a 3-game series against the Rangers on Friday. Gil Mesh against lefty Matt Harrison. 7:05 first pitch. Royals live with Joel beginning at 6:30. Well, we haven't seen the Rangers in a while. That'd be a nice trip to Texas.
They're like your brother.
No.
They played him so much in spring training. Both teams should know each other like the back of your hand.
Garco off of his foot, trying to walk some life back into that left foot.
And the one thing that Sidney Ponson can't afford to do is pitch from behind. You have to stay ahead of these hitters. They're too good. You put them in hitting counts, and they get better real quick.
There was a time when Ponson threw in the mid to upper 90s, and all of his pitches were above average. Didn't result in many winning seasons, but as is the case with a lot of pitchers, when they've been around for a while, they'll trade velocity for a little more movement, a little better control. Reach back for a little extra there. 94. It's 1-2 on Garco.
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. Hard is not always best in this game. You can throw 100 miles an hour, and these hitters can speed up and hit it, but they have a hard time slowing themselves down.
Chance for two. Out at second, out at first. So Ponson jumps ahead of Garco after falling behind the first two hitters. 6-4-3, and now runner at third, 2 down.
Well, Tony Pena does an outstanding job coming to get this ball. He didn't stay back and wait on it. He came in, made a nice play, and gave a nice feed to Willie Bloomquist, who also made a nice turn at second base. And what did we say? What's the pitcher's best friend?
Double play. Unless you're Bert Blyleven, one of the great characters of the game, broadcaster for the Twins, he will remind you that a triple play is actually the pitcher's best friend. But a double play is certainly a good friend.
One you see a lot. The other one you don't see very often.
Now 0-2 on Francisco. 1 for 4 last night, but that doesn't tell the whole story. He had some great swings. Just missed his second home run of the year. Hitting a drive deep, but just foul into the left field corner. Ponson trying to get that same corner that Aaron Laffey was working in the bottom of the first.
Then Francisco, he got those two pitches. The first one had a line drive that Alex made a great diving play on, and then he just missed a foul pole on the middle end fastball, and then they froze him on a fastball in the outside corner.
Ponson strikes him out. Walk, single, but rebounds with a double play and his first strikeout.
Tony Pena, Alex Gordon, or I just asked this gentleman, would you like to go against Frank White's speed? And he said, line him up. So go on. Here he goes.
Bird.
All right, guys, out here you can test your speed and you can pick a Royal to go against. Mike Aviles, George Brett, Tony Pena, Alex Gordon, or I just asked this gentleman, would you like to go against Frank White's speed? And he said, line him up. So go on. Here he goes. He is ready. He's going up against Frank White. And there you go. Frank, what do we got here?
He doesn't know me very well.
Frank wins, but it was really, really close. Come on, Frank. We need live Frank out here. I'm sure you could take this guy. Let's go back upstairs to you guys.
Now, is that Frank White's speed today or back in the day? Because I hope that guy isn't just 1/100th of a second slower than you are.
Well, running against me today would be right where we are right now.
Or 1/10 of a second.
Yeah. So that would be pretty even.
Did they just ask you what your time was from home to first?
No, they must have went back and got some old scouting reports or something.
Let's take a closer look.
Me being such a well-trained athlete, I just couldn't take off running like that. I would have to stretch and do all those other things because I'd probably pull a hamstring halfway down through there.
Not a whole lot of room to decelerate. Alex down on strikes. And that's the second strikeout for Aaron Laffey. Joel, is that Frank back in his prime speed or what they estimate he would be running today?
I'm trying to figure out if they're just trying to make everybody feel better about themselves and then in turn maybe making Frank not feel so good, because that guy didn't really seem like he was in the greatest of shape, although I think that was his second or third run, so he was stretched out, although I think there'd be a fatigue factor there a little bit. Plus he's in jeans.
Forgot about the fact that he's in jeans.
How come there's no Willie Wilson to run against? I guess, you know, unless Derek Robinson comes out here, no one's going to catch Willie.
Well, if someone would be a reliable source in regard to how fast current and former Royals got down the line, I know who I would go to, because he's still sitting behind home plate timing the guys. Art Stewart.
Art has a memory that's longer than anything I've ever heard of. I mean, it's nothing he doesn't remember about the guys that are drafted, what round they were drafted, how much money they got when they. He tells great stories about how he used to wait around the corner for one scout to leave, and he'd go in right down. One time he was in the house, but he was in the basement of the house waiting to listen to the other scout give his pitch.
So he knew what he was going up against.
Yeah, so when he left, he just walked up the stairs.
Added a few bucks and signed the guy. 0-1 on Tony Pena Jr.
If you guys want, I'll go down right now, especially since it's nice and sunny and beautiful outside. I'll just go ask Art what Frank's speed was to first.
Why don't you? And then after that, I'd like to see you race George Brett. That was one of the selections, wasn't it?
George was a selection. I'm surprised for you, Ryan, if you get out there, you could race against John Wathan because he's pretty quick for a catcher.
You said it.
Well, average major league speed for a right-hander is 4.3. So I have to imagine consistently I was in the 4.1.
So you mean to tell me that that guy in jeans is slightly above average for major league standards?
Well, you basically have to wait till the next inning.
Oh, he got a running start. Today is Jackie Robinson Day at Kauffman Stadium and all throughout Major League Baseball. It was 62 years ago today that Jackie Robinson made his debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and one of the real good guys in the Kansas City community is here. Bob Kendrick, the vice president of the Negro Leagues Museum, who borrowed my suit today. Good to see you. This is really a great day, isn't it?
It is a special day, and it's always wonderful to be out at the ballpark, and certainly to be here for this kind of celebration makes it that much more meaningful for all of us, particularly all of us at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
It's also has a little more meaning to it as well, because not just because of the museum, which is a great place to visit in Kansas City. If you haven't been yet, you really need to go see the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. But a lot of people outside of Kansas City don't realize that Jackie Robinson played in Kansas City.
Well, even more so than outside of Kansas City, even here at home. I was constantly running into locals, and you say, well, Robinson's professional career began with the Monarchs, and their eyes would literally bug because they didn't know. And so this really was the genesis for us to launch an awareness campaign called Before He Was Number 42. Of course, here at home, he wore number 5. On the road, he wore number 23. And so this was the opportunity for us to educate people about the fact that one of America's greatest heroes came from our city. And this is something that we should be proud of. Everybody who calls Kansas City home should be eminently proud of the fact that Robinson's career began here.
There's a leadoff walk to Tony Graffinino, and now Asdrubal Cabrera coming up. We were so lucky to learn about the Negro Leagues and Jackie Robinson from Buck O'Neil, and I know this is something else that he would have been so proud of. I mean, first of all, major leaguers wearing Negro League uniforms during the regular season, but everybody wearing number 42 today.
Everybody wearing number 42, symbolic again of just how meaningful that day, April 15th, 1947, was, not only to the game of baseball, but to our country. It changed everything. And so for us to be able to help people understand that this was the Negro Leagues that gave us this great hero, I think it validates how important these leagues were to our society as well as to the game, obviously. But I hope it also validates how important this museum is, because if we don't enlighten and share these stories, then who will? And so that's what we do on a daily basis here at 18th and Vine at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and we certainly want to encourage people now to come out and learn about Jackie, but also learn about those who preceded Jackie, what I like to call the unsung baseball heroes, because they could play. They really could play. And as baseball fans, we should know about these men.
Well, I agree with that, Bob, and I was going to go down that same road, and I've been privileged to be able to be around a lot of those ex-Negro League players and listen to their stories, and Slick Surratt and Woody Smallwood and Connie Johnson and those guys and Jess. So it's really kind of neat that these guys have been around to be able to go out to some of the local high schools and sign autographs, and some of the golf tournaments they show up at, they wear the Negro League hats and jerseys, and so it's been really fun to be around those guys and learn from those guys.
Well, it has been for me, and as Ryan touched on, I got to spend, over 14 years working side by side with Buck, and then as many of the other guys that you just made reference to. And I tell you, man, what a tremendous blessing it was for me to spend 14 years working with Buck O'Neil. I would have done this for free. Don't tell him that, but I would have done this for free, just to be around him, and the excitement and the energy and joy and passion that he had for life, as well as this game, was inspirational for all of us who came in contact with Buck.
Bob, do you find that it's, the Negro League players are so proud of their league, and, it's easy for some of us to feel sorry for them, but they did not feel sorry for themselves. But at the same time, it's in some ways an embarrassment to American history that there was a Negro Leagues in the first place. Do you find it's difficult for some people to visit because they have to get past the shame that it was there in the first place?
Well, I certainly think that people come expecting to experience a sad, somber story. But truth of the matter is, Ryan, you got the wrong place. This is a celebration. It is the celebration of the power of the human spirit to persevere and prevail. So, you're not going to encounter, yes, it's embodied in the ugliness of American segregation, which was a shameful period in our time, but out of segregation wrote this wonderful story of triumph and conquest. So the story of the Negro Leagues is really the American story. And it's America at her worst, but it's also America at her triumphant best. And so it is a celebratory kind of spirit as you make your way through the museum.
Indians going to wave Graffinino home as Sizemore gets one through the right side, and now Sizemore is going to move up to second base. So showing off his ability in just one play, driving in a run and moving up on a throw to the plate. We're visiting with Bob Kendrick of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Today is Jackie Robinson Day. And just to add to your point, Buck used to say, hey, wait a minute. We stayed at the nicest hotels. We ate at the nicest restaurants. We played in front of sellout crowds. Don't feel sorry for us.
They just happen to be black-owned. They just happen to be black-owned. And so I think that is what we're trying to have people understand when they come. It's not a sad story. It really isn't. Yes, it was a shameful period in our country's history. No, there should never have been a reason to have a Negro Leagues, but what these men were able to do, it was never a woe is mine kind of mentality. You won't let us play with you, we'll just simply create a league of our own.
And Buck did a great job of sharing that story from a very positive angle.
Absolutely.
I mean, everywhere he went, he said the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't feel sorry for us. And we had a good time.
Yeah, and you knew Buck. The glass was always half full with
always.
Buck, never half empty. That was his spirit, and I think because he was able to articulate that so well, people started to accept that.
Second out of the inning as Mark DeRosa grounds out. Buck also taught me, not directly, but just listening to him talk, a lot about Jackie Robinson, in that Jackie wasn't necessarily the best player in the Negro Leagues, but he was the right player.
He was the right player. He was the right player. There were other Negro League veterans who were better baseball players than Robinson, and probably even on his own Kansas City Monarch team. But Jackie epitomized, I think, the kind of ball player that was needed to make this very bold move. He had what I like to refer to as the intangibles. College educated, he was disciplined, he had served in the military, he was married, he was stable. All of those attributes would be called upon to deal with that racial hatred. So you had some players in the Negro Leagues who probably could have done it, but most of them couldn't have handled the adversity from a social standpoint. They could have handled the baseball. Baseball was not a problem. Buck always said they were playing the best baseball that could be played, but could you handle the social adversity? And I think that would have been the thing. Some of those Negro League players who had been so acclimated to segregation, had you thrown a black cat out on the field, when they walked out on the field, their natural instinct would have been pick the black cat up and throw it back where it came from. But then the naysayers would have said, see, I told you they couldn't handle it. So it really was a double difficult task for Branch Rickey to identify the right guy, because failure was not an option on either side of the equation. Had Robinson failed as a player, they would have said, see, I told you he wasn't good enough to play in this league. Or had he failed in terms of not being able to handle the social pressure, same thing. The naysayers would have said, see, I told you they couldn't, they weren't tough enough to take it. So it was a difficult task, and so Robinson definitely was the right guy. There's no question about that.
And he did a lot after his playing career to help in the civil rights movement and things like that. So he just sort of took that to another level.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing that makes him so remarkable. Obviously, he died far too young in his 50s, but he was a remarkable human being who happened to be one of this nation's greatest athletes ever. I mean, I think people forget he was a four-sport star at UCLA. Baseball was his weakest sport. He's a much better basketball, football, and track man than he was a baseball player.
Victor Martinez is out. The inning is over, and go out and visit the Negro League Baseball Museum and say hi to one of the really good guys in our community, Bob Kendrick. Thanks for stopping by.
Guys, thank you for having me on.
All right, Bob.
Good to see you, Bob.
Frank, great to see you.
Okay.
Joel has already discovered the answer to a question we asked him last inning. Joel.
Well, I went straight to Art Stewart, who is down here behind the plate, as he always is. His lovely wife, Rosemary, is with him. But, all right, Art, how was Frank's speed?
Frank was a speedster. He's well above average. He was a solid 4-1 runner from the right side of the plate, where a 4-3 runner is average runner. 4-2 is well above average, and Frank was well above average at 4-1 consistently.
All right, I don't think that guy was really a 4-2. I think the clock started late on him. How about me against George?
You against George? I don't know. That would be a tough one to answer.
You are too kind. All right, the last one, Ryan against the very good running catcher, John Wathen.
Well, you know, I saw Ryan play at the University of Minnesota, and he wasn't a bad runner. He would be right in there with John without a doubt. Ryan was a solid average runner, and so was Duke.
For Minnesota, he did all right. All right, Art, thank you very much. It's good insight, as always.
Thank you, and good being with you.
All right. Hey, he is the best, isn't he?
And ever the diplomat. Solid average. That's A.
What can I say?
That's a nice way of saying
you have no chance.
No, it's a nice way of saying, you're average, but you were a really good average.
Well, I was talking more about being a diplomat with me because I got no chance with George. But better to pick something else than hitting.
Well, he said Frank was 4-2 or 4-1, and that's exactly what they had on the board. And that average was 4-3, which is exactly what Frank said. That's Frank, 4-1. The guy in the jeans with the running start was 4-2.
I don't think Art has ever scouted the guy in the jeans.
No.
I got to be honest. I think he's got a few more important things to do. No offense to the guy in the jeans.
Although I'll bet over the years, Art's seen guys who weren't that far removed from the guy in the jeans.
He might have seen this guy a lot of years ago, but this guy's past his prime.
By the way, don't forget, guys would swing and then run. This guy didn't get the time start until he hit home plate, and he had a good 3 or 4 steps. That's got to make you feel a little better, doesn't it, Frank?
Makes me feel real good. That doesn't take into account the swing, getting out of the box.
And the jeans factor. Don't forget the jeans factor. Do they post a time, like time in jeans or not in jeans? I don't know if you ever raced anybody in your jeans, Frank.
You usually get those in tryout camps. The guys that don't have the uniform, they show up.
That was this guy.
Of course, Kevin Shank reminds me that Joey Gathright once jumped over a car in his jeans.
Art's already telling me about a player that he scouted that they ran and timed in cutoff jeans.
I believe it. I believe it
too. He had a name and I think a date as well to go with it.
That's Coco's 5th walk of the series. And he should have had a walk in the first inning, but had a borderline call go against him. And now Coco's put himself and the team in a good position because every game he has reached with a walk, the Royals have gone on to win. And Aaron Laffey, that was the last thing he wanted to do. His team just scored thanks to a leadoff walk. And he does the same thing in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Now ball 1 on Willie Bloomquist, and if Trey Hillman wants to do what Eric Wedge did, leadoff walk, sack bunt, he's got the right guy up there. Willie reached with an infield single in the 1st inning. Jammed, and the Indians are going to have to hurry, still turn the double play. And I think the reason that worked out, Frank, is because defending against the bunt, DeRosa was so shallow at 3rd.
Well, and hit it to the right guy to be able to turn that double play. He's well in on the grass, Ryan, and that, like you say, that just makes it easy for that play to happen right there. If he's back another 10 feet, there's no way they turn it with Willie running.
So 2 outs, nobody on. David DeJesus singled in the first inning. Royals had a great opportunity against Laffey with 1 out. Bloomquist, DeJesus, and Buck all reached. The bases loaded, 1 out. Laffey got out of it, retiring Tien on a shallow fly to right and getting Billy Butler on a sharp ground ball to first. Three and 0. Three and 1. Laffey has walked 2, struck out 2. Little help from the wind, little help with the sun, but Francisco able to find it in the blue sky, and the Royals send just 3 to the plate. Presenting the Go Blue and St. Louis sweepstakes. One lucky winner will be at the Royals-Cardinals game on May the 23rd and enjoy beautiful accommodations at Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels. Register now at goblueinstlouis.com. 1-0 Indians. Grady Sizemore driving home Tony Graffinino in the third. And ball 1 on Travis Hafner, who was on base with a 4-pitch walk in the second inning. And that's 6 straight out of the strike zone from Ponson to Hafner, followed by Shin-Soo Choo and Ryan Garco. That hit the front of the mound, and Pena with a difficult play, and Billy Butler had to concentrate on the throw and the bat, both arriving at about the same time, along with Travis Hafner. He had 3 things converging on him at once.
Well, first he got a good sinking fastball, and the ball went basically out, like it might have hit off the bottom of his foot. And Tony Pena comes across, and Billy does a great job, because normally as a first baseman, when the ball starts to go up like that, your tendency is to jump. And Billy did a great job stretching and maintaining his foot on the bag with the bat laying right there by the base. You won't see a finer play than this one. He's just tremendous out there.
Running in completely the opposite direction of his target. No time to set his feet. No time to find the target. That is just a good feel for the field.
It's like a rubber man. I mean, he can throw the ball from so many different angles and with velocity and accuracy. So that just makes him pretty special.
We call him Rubber Band Man.
We can do that.
Yeah, cue up the Spinners.
One of my favorite groups.
Deep center field, playable for Coco. 2 down in the 4th inning. Well, you'll get more bang for your buck at Kauffman Stadium this year with deals like Royal Knights, $5 upper level tickets every Monday except against Boston in September. Buck Knights are back thanks to Independence Honda on select Wednesdays, Fridays, and on Memorial Day. Saturdays, or Fridays and Sundays, Bob Evans bases loaded 4-pack days. Another 1-2-3 inning for Sidney Ponson. 1-0 Cleveland, middle of the 4th. "62 years ago, April the 15th, 1947, making his debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Did not get a hit in that debut, but he scored the winning run as the Dodgers beat the Boston Braves. Here's today's Coors Light Freeze Cam. That was the headline in newspapers all around the country. Jackie Robinson, who played with the Kansas City Monarchs early in his professional career. We were chatting with Bob Kendrick of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum earlier in the game. Every player that steps on the Major League field today, player, coach, manager, will be wearing number 42. Raffanino was playing the middle against John Buck. 1 pitch, 1 out for Laffey in the bottom of the 4th inning. And now Laffey against Mark Tien, and Tien is the biggest out so far for Laffey today. The Royals had the bases loaded, 1 out in the 1st inning with Tien coming up. Got him on a fly ball to shallow right, and then got Butler on a ground ball. That's the Royals' biggest scoring threat of the day.
Well, Laffey's got a big sweeping curveball, and if the left-handers give up on it too fast, it's gone before they commit. They give in, and it's on the outer half of the plate.
just 3 pitches to strike out Tien. That's the 3rd for Laffey. Time now for You Call It, presented by Sprint. What would you like to see more of from the Royals offense this year? More home runs, more doubles, more stolen bases, more walks. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals along with your selection, and we'll update that throughout the afternoon. 0-1 on Billy Butler.
Started Billy off with a nice changeup right there. Billy got over inches and probably looked real good with that motion that he has.
No balls, 2 strikes. Billy making the final out of that first inning with the bases loaded 2 down, and didn't look like he was ready for the 2 fastballs that Laffey challenged him with. It was 0-2 right away, as it is now.
Well, he definitely has to protect the plate right now. That's what the plan was with Kevin Seitzer coming out of spring training. Okay, go for stay in the middle, but don't sacrifice your power to stay in the middle. Try to drive it, but cover the plate with two strikes.
Just a little bit out in front, and Grady Sizemore makes the play. And for the 3rd straight inning, Laffey faces just 3. Sir Sidney Ponson, Cy Young in 2009. He's allowed 1 run in the first 4 innings. He'll get the lower 3rd in the 5th, beginning with Ben Francisco. He is Sir Sidney from Aruba, which is a territory of the Netherlands, and he was knighted in 2003. So he is a knight in the Order of the Royal Dutch House. He does not have to wear his armor during the game. Tough play for Pena. Just got Francisco. TJ's made 2 good plays in the last 2 innings.
It's getting to the point now, Ryan, where you don't have to say it's a tough play because he's making them look so easy. He really rounds this ball very well and gets his body going in the direction of first base, and he's got that whip on his arm, and I think he's about as accurate as any shortstop I've seen.
And ball 1 to Tony Graffinino. Here's the James V. Nutter pitch count for Sidney Ponson. That is pitch number 60, and Graffinino with his first hit of the series. He had a tough luck. He's going to try for 2 and beats the throw from Crisp. I was going to say he had tough hitting luck on Monday, 0 for 4 with 3 well-hit balls and trying to make up for it in this plate appearance. A decision he probably made coming out of the batter's box.
Well, he definitely did, and Coco playing on the right field side at second base really did a good job getting over there, but he knew he could probably gamble right here because of the arm strength of Coco Chris.
Now ball 1 on Asdrubal Cabrera. Ponson now at 61 pitches. He threw 104 in his 6 innings on Friday against the Yankees, giving up 4 runs. Had a shaky first inning and threw 25 of those pitches in the first against the Yankees. Royals didn't make a couple plays on defense, but one thing that he did in his 6 innings was battle and was able to avoid a big inning.
Well, that's what veteran pitchers are able to do. They realize what they need to do to stay in the game, but when he gets in trouble is when he wants to be too fine. Rather than going in and let his sinker, two-seamer work down, try to get ground balls down, just try to work the corners a little bit too much. And then when you get behind, you got to come in, and they're waiting for you.
Four hits in the series for Cabrera. He helped set up the Indians' run in the 3rd with a sac bunt. And Sidney blows him away with a fastball at 93. Second strikeout for Ponson.
I think he's proven that he's not afraid to throw the fastball over the plate for a strike, but he needs to get that first pitch over to be more effective. But when you can throw it right by a hitter right here at 92 miles an hour, you got to say, well, maybe I can throw my fastball.
Raffanino down at second base with 2 outs. The Royals are not going to mess with Grady Sizemore, who's hit the ball hard twice. Grounded sharply to Butler in the 1st inning and then singled home the game's only run in the 3rd with 1 out, getting Raffanino to the plate. So the Royals instead will go after Mark DeRosa. DeRosa twice has grounded out to Alex Gordon at third base.
The intentional walk, a lot of people would say it's kind of a waste of time, and they'll sit there and wait for the pitcher to throw 4 pitches. Why don't they say just go to first base? Because very rarely they throw a ball away.
Wind will help knock that down, and Tian back in right to retire DeRosa. Ponson works around a double and a walk in a scoreless 5th inning. Great day to be at the ballpark. Best weather day we've had in Kansas City. Everyone here at Kauffman Stadium and all around Major League Baseball will be wearing number 42. Cleveland with a 1-0 lead to the bottom of the 5th inning. Alex Gordon, Miguel Olivo, and Tony Pena Jr. coming up against Aaron Laffey. And we update. You Call It, presented by Sprint. What would you like to see more of from the Royals offensively this year? 51% of you say home runs. And in second place, a distant second, stolen bases. Alex to the opposite field. The wind really working in his favor and making it a difficult play for Grady Sizemore.
Well, Sizemore covered a lot of ground. He mainly was chasing this ball. The wind was just pushing that ball toward left field, and he just kept tracking it, and eventually went into a little dive and made a great play. Just great speed in center field.
Would have been a much easier play for Ben Francisco, but because of the slice and the wind, the ball turned a line drive towards center into a slicer towards left.
I think in plays like that, that's when you say you're chasing the ball, because it's not going where it's supposed to go. The wind's taking it, and you just kind of tracking it best you can.
Miguel Olivo pounds it foul to the left field side. Aaron Laffey has retired 11 of the last 12. Royals had the bases loaded, 1 out against him in the first inning and didn't score. Olivo grounded back to Laffey in the second inning. Two and two. Oh, we'll watch Olivo and see how his play is affected by John Buck's play. Not talking about playing time, but I'm sure Olivo is well aware of how well John Buck is swinging the bat.
Well, you have to be aware of that. I think the one thing he needs to do is just cut down his swing a little bit, like he's just trying to hit the ball too hard and pulling his head, not seeing the ball. And against Laffey today, that's not going to work, because he's working the outside corner with his fastball.
You know, one might say, why 3 catchers on the roster, especially in the American League? But with 3 catchers, you can put Miguel Olivo and John Buck in the same lineup. And a strikeout number 4 for Aaron Laffey, 2 down in the 5th inning.
Well, it does give you a lot of versatility there, and you don't have to worry about one of your catchers getting hurt in the game and having to make different moves. But it's sort of something you don't see very often anymore, 3 catchers on a staff. But Brian Pena kind of falls into a different category.
9-game, 21-game season ticket packages available this year. 816-504-4040 or Royals.com if you'd like more information. TJ took a called 3rd strike in the 2nd inning and pops this one up to the right side. Graffinino wants it. He's got it. Another 1-2-3 inning for Laffey. They'll make it 13 of the last 14 knocked down by the Indians left. afternoon by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. Not a whole lot of offense. Combined 5 hits through 5 innings. So Ponson and Laffey have pitched very well. Only run of the game in the third. Grady Sizemore single scored Tony Graffinino. Martinez, Hafner, and Chu coming up in the 6th. Ponson at 71 pitches. Ball 1 on Martinez. Twice he has grounded out to Willie Bloomquist at second base. One and one. The Indians have not led at any point in the series until today, and really didn't have that bad of offensive games in the first 2. They just couldn't get runners home. They left 19 runners on base combined Monday and last night. So they were making the least out of the most.
Well, that's true, and the Royals pitchers have done a real good job of pitching out of trouble, and whether it be coming up with a big strikeout or getting a real good defensive play made behind them. But they've just been real good in that situation. The bullpen comes in and shuts them down, and so everybody's kind of picking each other up right now.
Talking to some of the Indians people, and that's what they're most impressed about in regard to what they've seen from the Royals so far in the series is the bullpen. And once you turn that thing over to the bullpen in the 7th inning, you got some serious heat coming your way with Farnsworth and Cruz. Juan Cruz looked great last night.
Yes, he did.
Doug Wechter and Jamie Wright, Ron Mayhay. Oh and 1 on Travis Hafner. Walked in the 2nd inning, grounded out in the 4th. That could be trouble in the left field corner, and it stays fair. Hafner stops at second base with a 1-out double.
Hafner does a good job staying inside of this pitch and just really taking it to left field. You kind of expect him to be a pull hitter, but it's a changeup. He just stayed down on it. The ball's going down away. Kind of cut it a little bit and just was able to keep it fair.
DeJesus had the slice and the wind working against him.
And plus he was planning more over the pull too, so he had a long way to go.
That brings up Shin-Soo Choo, a single and a fly out to center so far today. And back to the middle. Hafner does not have good speed. Crisp doesn't have a strong arm, but Coco gets it back to the infield quickly. And 1st and 3rd, 1 out.
That's one of the trademarks of Coco Crisp. He realizes that he doesn't have a strong arm, so he really comes fast and closes. He really closes the ground on that ball and really makes his arm a lot better. You get a good look at him, so he's coming. As soon as that ball clears the infield, he's on the move, and he gets rid of the ball, and that would have been an out at home plate right there.
I remember when you were Royals outfield coach and you had Johnny Damon, who does not have a strong arm, but used to point out that he made up for his strong arm getting to the ball quickly and getting the ball back to the cutoff man quickly.
Right, so if you don't have a strong arm, it really left field for Johnny was perfect because of his speed. And any base hit through the hole at short and third, then he would close on that ball so fast that it made his arm actually pretty good. Willie Wilson, when he first came up, didn't have a very strong arm. We put him in left field, and he was even closer, and he ended up winning a Gold Glove in left field.
Great double play candidate up there now, Ryan Garca, who did just that in the 2nd inning, helping Ponson get around a leadoff walk to Hafner and a single from Chu. That's through the left side. Indians lead 2-0. Garko drives in his 3rd of the year. Not many long counts in this inning. Indians very aggressive early in the count against Ponson.
Looks like he tried to throw a sinker here, Ryan, 92 miles an hour, but the ball didn't sink very well. And Garko was able to get the bat on it and hit that little seam between short and third for a base hit.
Bob McClure out there to chat with Sidney and Miguel Olivo. We remind you that every Friday and Sunday home game is a Bob Evans Bases Loaded 4-pack day. 4 tickets, each loaded with $10 to use on concessions or merchandise around the ballpark. All that for just $60, a $100 value. So a great deal every Friday and Sunday at Kauffman Stadium. Bob Evans Bases Loaded 4-packs. Oh, 0-1 to Ben Francisco. Chu at second base, Garko at first. Just got underneath it. They're going to call the infield fly rule as Francisco is retired. So 2 down. Looked like he had a good swing, had it timed pretty good, but just hit the lower half of the ball.
Well, that's true. A lot of time it's the movement on the pitch that really helps. Tony Pena does a great job of shielding the sun with his glove, and at the same time telling David, "I've got it" with his right hand. So outstanding positioning on Tony on that pop up.
So 2 down, and now Graffinino scored the Indians' first run in the 3rd. Reached for the leadoff walk. Was bunted to second and scored on a Sizemore single. And now the Indians have added their 2nd run in this inning. Ryan Garko's base hit, getting Travis Hafner to the plate. Two and 0. Graffinino making the Indians during spring training as a non-roster invitee. Played in the minor leagues all of last year. As Jamie Wright begins to loosen up in the Royals bullpen. He's had to come back a couple of times. Tony Graffinino, a long time ago now, but he was a big-time prospect in the Braves organization. They looked at him to be the future everyday second baseman. Ran into some back troubles and then had to kind of reinvent himself as a utility type player, and was able to do that with the Chicago White Sox. Had some big games against the Royals. So the Royals said, enough of that, we're going to sign him. And then spent parts of 3 seasons in KC. Over to the Brewers, and has kind of had to reinvent himself again to get back to the big leagues.
Yeah, I talked to him before the game today, and he said last year was a long year. You know, going through the rehab the first 2 or 3 months, he really missed being in the major leagues, and so he just got himself healthy, and he's just excited to be back.
Ponson limits the damage, gets out of the 6th, allowing just the 1 run. back in the first inning. So a good time for our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Gary Clark from Blue Springs, Missouri. And if the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Gary wins $900. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Gary wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. Our contestant last night missed the Sonic Slam by a couple of innings. John Buck hitting a grand slam in the 8th. Top of the order, and ball one on Coco Crisp. Struck out in the first on a pitch that appeared to be outside. Took a called third strike and then walked in the third. Laffey has walked 2, struck out 4, and he has retired 13 of the last 14. We were just talking off air, Frank, that as tough as his arm angle could be against left-hand hitters, you'd think that righties would get a really good look at him.
Well, you'd think so, but he's doing an outstanding job keeping the ball on the outer half. He's not making any mistakes down the middle, and until they go out and drive some balls the opposite way, I think he's going to stay where he's at. He likes to throw that sweeping slider down onto the back leg when he gets ahead sometimes, but everything's down, and they're really not getting pitches in the center of the plate to hit.
This is the 3rd time through the order for the Royals, so every hitter has gotten 2 looks at him. Willie Bloomquist will be next, and then David DeJesus if anybody gets on base. John Buck, who bats cleanup today. Coco taking all the way, and now the count fills out.
Well, that's a good job of a veteran guy there, knowing that you need men on base, and he can swing 3-1. But if you're not going to hit the ball at the ballpark, maybe you can get a free walk right there.
And takes the walk. That's 6 for Coco in this series. Let's revisit today's You Call It, presented by Sprint. What do you want more of from the Royals this year? And overwhelmingly, home runs. The first time we checked it, stolen bases was in second. But since then, now more of you fans would like to see more walks from the Royals. Text your answer, A, B, C, or D, to 432-432 and enter keyword Royals.
You put walks with home runs, that'd be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. All the good offensive teams just seem to have a lot of guys on base and hit for power, not just home runs, but hitting a lot of doubles. And while this is a tough ballpark to hit home runs, there are a lot of doubles out there.
Yeah, a lot of doubles, and for some guys, there are a lot of triples. But it's a good ballpark to play small ball if you got the right combination for a hit run, things like that. And you can do a lot in a big ballpark you can't do in a small ballpark.
Bloomquist singled off of Laffey's leg in the first inning and then rolled into a double play in the third. And that's a bloop into right field. Chu is extremely shallow, but Coco's going to challenge him anyway, and he's into third base. Bloomquist to second. He's safe. That wakes up Kauffman Stadium.
This pitch gets in on Bloomquist. It's 3 at bats. He really had to really stung the ball. But this ball got in on him. He was able to force it out to right field. But what made this play was Coco just kept his head down. He was going to go all the way. But I think Chu got caught a little bit off guard there, not thinking he was going to try to go to third base. And Willie, on the throw, continued into second base.
By not hitting the cutoff man, that takes the double play out and puts the tying runner at second base, nobody out.
Well, outfielders always have to remember, regardless of what an opportunity, when there's 2 outs, you can take a shot at trying to, you can take a shot at trying to throw that ball all the way. But I tell you, when you got 1 out and you got a chance to start a big inning by overthrowing your cutoff man, you really don't do your team any favors there.
Number 42 warming up in the Indians bullpen. That's Joe Smith, who the Indians got in a trade from the Mets during the offseason. We mentioned that today being Jackie Robinson Day, everyone wearing number 42, so it's going to be tough to identify some of the players on both sides. Here's number 42, Bloomquist, at second base. And number 42, David DeJesus, at the plate. Ball one.
When the Indians are playing the infielders back, they'll give the Royals 1 run right here for an out.
Singled in the first, flied to left in the third. His single in the first inning helped set up that bases loaded 1 out, but Laffey pitched his way out of it. Borderline call, 1 ball, 1 strike. Coco leading off with a walk. Willie Bloomquist single got him to third, and when the throw went to third, Bloomquist moved up to second base. Now the Indians have a second right-hander warming up in the bullpen. Jensen Lewis. So 42 and 42 getting loose. There's that breaking ball that the Royals have had trouble with all day, and Laffey's ahead 1-2. Can add 100 points to his batting average this year with runners on, and of course last year he had the best average in the major leagues with runners in scoring position at .419. Lays off that one, 2-2.
This is when you're a hitter right now, Ryan. You got the infield back. They're giving you a run. A ground ball is short, ground ball is second, but you just want to put the ball in play.
And that's exactly what David does to Graffinino. Royals are on the board. DeJesus drives in his second run of the game.
That's really all you want to do right there. You just want to take what the opposition going to give you. And David did a good job getting a ground ball in second right there. You got 1 in, 1 over, and now you have an opportunity to tie the game.
And Eric Wedge is going to point to the bullpen for a right-hander. Looks like Joe Smith. Responsible for the runner at third. Don't forget, on Saturday, April the 25th, first 20,000 fans are going to receive this replica 40th anniversary jersey from Fox Sports Kansas City. Last year it was the powder blue. This year it's the home white. So come on out. Royals.com, 1-800-6-ROYALS for ticket information. A young fan enjoying rival sports bar out in right field. This is the Royals' first look at side armor Joe Smith, who made 82 appearances for the Mets last year. Infield in with John Buck at the plate. And ball one inside, and you can see from his arm angle he'd be tough on a right-hand batter.
He's going to throw a hard sinker that's going to run down and in to a right-hander. John's got to make sure he gets the ball up out over the plate so he can get it over the infield.
That crossed up the catcher Victor Martinez.
Well, he kind of jumped at that one. The ball really just dove in inside on John Buck. This takes a lot of patience. Guys that throw like this, you want to try to get them out over the plate a little bit more and try to drive the ball to right field to get the ball up. They want you to try to hit that ball, mainly it's a jam pitch or a pitch you can roll over to third base.
And then that sweeping slider, but he falls behind 3-0. Drafted by the Mets in 06 out of Wright State. He was in the big leagues in 07. Not taking any chances with Buck on 3-0. Throws a slider. It was a 3-team deal. It was the same trade that sent Franklin Gutierrez from the Indians to the Mariners. Mariners, Indians, and Mets. On the outside corner. Almost looked like a quick pitch there. Kind of gave John Buck a little different look and late life on that fastball over the outside.
Well, it looks like his ball is sinking, but it's also got a lot of life to it too. The ball really came back to the outside corner.
And comes back to strike out Buck, so falls behind 3-0. And Eric Wedge pops out of the dugout again. This is the type of guy, similar to Aaron Laffey, the left-hand pitcher. He'll be tough on right-hand hitters, but lefties, with Martin coming up, going to see him well. They're going to see him for a long time with that sidearm delivery. So Jensen Lewis will face Tien. Bloomquist, tying runner down at third base, 2 outs. Definition. Our next HD telecast will be the beginning of the next homestand. Tigers in town on April the 24th. 6:30. Our coverage begins with Royals Live with Joel Goldberg. Brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Royals started the inning with runners at second and third and nobody out. David DeJesus ground ball got Coco Crisp to the plate. Then Joe Smith came on, struck out John Buck after falling behind 3-0, and now Jensen Lewis, who has a deceptive delivery, pitches to Mark Tien, and it's 0-1. One herky jerky delivery, tough to pick up the ball.
Yeah, one thing they like about him is his deception that you was talking about, but also he's got a quick arm, and the ball gets on the, even though he's around 88, 89, it seems quicker because how fast his arm comes through.
Quickly 0-2. Tien is 0 for 2 so far today.
So he really gets a good arm turn. Then he sort of, like you said earlier, Ron, he kind of jumps at the hitter, but his arm comes through so quick that it appears he's throwing harder than he really is.
Lewis last year led the Indians with 13 saves. This year they have Kerry Wood as their closer. 2-2 to Tien. Two and 2 to Tien, who's 2 for 2 against Jensen. Trying to tie the game here at 2-2. Huh? How about that?
Deuce is a while.
And good at bat for Tien. Down 0-2. Fills out the count. Tien just 1 for 10 in this series. Most of those at bats batting fourth. Moved down to the number 5 position today with John Buck hitting fourth after that huge game last night. And draws a walk. So Billy Butler's scheduled to hit, but he's called back to the dugout. And Trey Hillman is going to send Mike Jacobs up there. So a couple examples of hanging in there in this inning. First for Joe Smith, falling behind John Buck 3-0, but hanging in there and coming back and getting a strikeout. And then Mark Tien turning around in at bat after falling behind 0-2 and going down with a walk. And here's Mike Jacobs with Bloomquist at third and Tien at first. Mike Jacobs has never faced Jensen Lewis. Ball one. Jacobs 2 hits last night, runs scored, an RBI. 3 out of 7 in the series. Hit his first home run for the Royals on Monday night.
Jensen's having a hard time getting the ball down, so they can afford to be patient.
I'll say.
This is Mike Jacobs' home run for Monday. Low ball hitter, got the ball down, and when he centers the ball, it's really hit.
That home run off of sinker baller Fausto Carmona, and we had predicted that that was the right pitcher for him. The ball sinking down into a low ball hitter's hitting zone.
And you actually called the shot, which is even more impressive.
Well, my point was that I had the feeling he was going to hit his first home run soon. I didn't mean like right now, but Jacobs making me look like a genius on Monday. If I were that smart, you and I would be playing Powerball every day. Now off speed, so after a steady diet of fastballs, and Jacobs Looked like he was anticipating a fastball way out in front.
That's Ryan. A lot of guys, sometimes you have to be more of a veteran guy to come off the bench and be a quality pinch hitter. And guys that are used to playing every day, this is not a normal thing that they do.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Jacobs will strike out. The Royals were well aware of that. He has struck out 7 times this year, but you could see the effort in spring training, trying to hit the ball to the opposite field, shorten up with 2 strikes, and we've seen some results in the regular year of him. He did it last night down in the count 1-2, driving in a run.
Right, he made some comments to that in his interview, saying that that's really the thing that got him back on track again. Early in the year, he was trying to pull a lot. Then he started driving some balls to left field, and before you know it, he was right on the ball and started driving balls in the right center field alley.
Another walk. And you talk about a hitter that's due. He's coming up to the plate. Alex Gordon, 0 for 2 today with a strikeout and 0 for his last 13. Pitching coach Carl Willis wants to have a word with Jensen Lewis, who got off to a great start, jumped ahead of Mark Teahen 0-2 after coming out of the bullpen, but walked him and now walks Mike Jacobs.
Well, Lewis has got a very good changeup, and he's got a good sweeping slider, but then those seem to be the only 2 pitches he can actually command. So Alex has got to really stay back and look for the fastball and be on time for the other pitches.
On the Royals side, Kyle Farnsworth, who turned 33 yesterday, is ready for the top of the 7th inning. So Bloomquist at third, Teahen at second, Jacobs at first. 3 walks in the inning given up by the Indians, and Royals would like to make them pay for that. 0-1 on Alex. I think the Indians would feel pretty lucky if they get out of this inning, having giving up 3 walks but only 1 run.
Yeah, that was that first pitch changeup that we talked about, that Alex really has to stay back and try to hit off the fastball and don't chase the outspeed until you get 2 strikes.
1 ball, 1 strike. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes. Alex is 0 for 2 against Jensen Lewis before today.
That's a fastball right there. I know Alex wish he had back, because it was right in his zone, right down the middle. And he might be still a little rusty, having a couple days off, and that might not be as sharp as he want to be, but that's really a pitch in his zone right there.
Just missed the outside. That's a tough pitch to take with the bases loaded and with the way Charlie Relaford has been calling balls and strikes today.
You got to guard the corners. Anything close, you got to try to put the ball in play right here.
In the dirt, so we go to 3-2 again. And now everyone out of their seats at Kauffman Stadium on a sunny Wednesday afternoon. Everybody will be moving on this 3-2 pitch.
Well, he hasn't been able to show command with his fastball. Well, I'd be surprised if he throw a fastball right here.
Still live.
Alex has had 2 pretty good pitches to hit.
It all started with a walk. Coco Crisp scored on a David DeJesus ground out. Willie Bloomquist has singled. Teahen and Jacobs have walked. Did he go around? No, and the Royals have tied the game. 3 consecutive walks given up by Jensen Lewis. That is such a tough pitch to lay off, isn't it?
It really is. And Lewis's fastball seems like it's really running up out of the strike zone. And Alex did a great job of laying off of it. But I'm surprised that he stayed with that fastball, because that's been the toughest pitch in his arsenal to command today.
And it all started for Lewis jumping ahead 0-2 on Mark Teahan. Back-to-back-to-back walks. He was ahead of Alex Gordon 1-2. And we go from one hitter that's due to another Royals hitter. 0 for 5 in this series. Miguel Olivo, 4 strikeouts, and he hits with the bases loaded and the game tied at 2. Don't forget, it's our Sonic Slam inning, so take big, deep breaths. Gary Clark from Blue Springs, Missouri. $25,000 will buy you a whole bunch of cherry limeades.
Those are very good.
Go with some tater tots. John Buck with a grand slam last night's game in the 8th inning. On the ground to third, and that just leads DeRosa right to the bag. The Royals come up with 2. The Indians walk 4 in the inning, including the tying run with the bases loaded. Mike Jacobs for Billy Butler in the Royals' 2-run 6th inning. He reads with a walk, helping lead to the Alex Gordon walk, which tied the game. Jacobs stays in the game at first. And after 6 solid innings this afternoon, Sidney Ponson is out, replaced by Kyle Farnsworth, as the Royals get into the heat part of their bullpen in the later innings.
The one thing that bullpen's going to do, Ryan, is they're going to bring heat. And I tell you, they've been doing a great job of keeping the ball down, and their sliders have been tight. And it's just amazing how so many guys can be on the same page, you know, and they all come out feeding off each other. And you can really sense the competition between the whole team in spring training. So that's what made it a fun spring for me.
Frank, it'll be interesting to see how the Indians come out in this 7th inning, because for a team that is in with a record of 1-7, that was a long time on defense. It's one of those deflating type innings too, with all the walks. That's the type of inning that can really take the wind out of a team's sails.
Yeah, walks put you on your heels, and you find yourself rooting for your pitcher to throw strikes, and all of a sudden here comes a ball you're not ready for it, and it just keeps the inning going in a negative way.
Cabrera laid down a sacrifice bunt in the 3rd inning, helping lead to the Indians' first run. Struck out in the 5th. Indians RBIs today: Grady Sizemore in the 3rd, Ryan Garco in the 6th. Hard hit to left field. The wind's going to push it. DeJesus shallow, and it's over his head. So Cabrera giving the Indians exactly what they needed after that deflating bottom of the 6th inning. They have a runner at second with nobody out.
Well, with the wind blowing out to left field, I'm surprised David was playing so shallow, because once the ball got up in the wind, it just kept going, and he couldn't catch up with it.
Three doubles for Asdrubal Cabrera in the first week plus of the season, and that's his 5th hit of this series. 5 out of 9. Grady Sizemore, for the most part, has been quiet. Just 2 out of 11, but made his 2nd hit of the series count in the 3rd inning, singling home Tony Graffinino.
Well, he'll be looking to try to pull a ball to advance Cabrera to the 3rd base.
Firestone leaderboard will show you what the Royals bullpen has done on this homestand as a group. They've pitched 17 innings in the first 5 games, given up 2 runs and struck out 25. Sizemore trying to make sure at least getting Cabrera over to 3rd base, showing bunt. Two and one. So Sidney Ponson is off the hook. He'll receive a no decision today, thanks to the Royals getting 2 in the 6th inning, but will remain winless in his career against the Indians. Big pitch, and Farnsworth gets a pop-up to the right side, and Mike Jacobs retires Grady Sizemore. Runner at second, 1 out. Remember, the official online pro shop of the Royals is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A great selection of Royals caps, t-shirts, jerseys, and more. So get your gear straight from the source, the Royals.com pro shop. And now at the new Kauffman Stadium, we can say Royals gift shops, plural. So a big hit to open the inning for the Indians. Cabrera with a double to left, but Sizemore pops out. And Mark DeRosa into center field. And Cabrera coming around 3rd base. He'll beat the throw from Crisp, and the Indians are right back out in front.
Now, Kyle Farnsworth leaves the fastball up out over the plate, and DeRosa, being the professional hitter he is, he drove it back through the middle of center field. Just right down the middle, up in the hitting area, and he's drove it back through the box. And I think the Indians are going to always test Coco's arm in center field when they have an opportunity to score.
So DeRosa picks up Sizemore after the infield pop-up. And the batter will be Victor Martinez, who is 0 for 3. Ron Mayhay warming up in the Royals bullpen. Martinez 0 for 4 against Farnsworth, has walked a couple of times. And a slider for strike one. It's only the third run given up by the Royals bullpen all homestand. This is game number 6. DeRosa does not have a stolen base attempt yet this year. The Indians have stolen 6. Blocked by Olivo. And DeRosa was thinking about second base, but Miguel on that in a hurry.
Yeah, you almost got to pick that up right away. Once that trajectory of the ball goes down, you got to make your mind up that you're going to go. And once you hesitate, you're lost in that position there.
DeRosa had just 6 stolen bases last year and 149 games with the Cubs. Did Farnsworth begin his pitching motion towards first? He did. It's a balk. You can step off and look to first, but you can't fake a throw.
You can't fake a throw. That's true. But you got to break contact with the rubber. If you take a look at his hands and the glove, the ball kind of bobbled coming out of his glove.
So it was the bobble. It wasn't necessarily the throwing action towards first. Or maybe.
Well, he was standing there with the glove, with the ball was in the glove, and his bare hand was separate. And when he went to make his turn and reach in to get the ball, he mishandled getting the ball, so he couldn't make the throw.
You know, it also looked like maybe he began with his hands before his feet. The hands worked first, and then the feet, rather than the feet first, then the hands.
Yeah, the main thing, he didn't grab the ball right away, and so when he went to make his turn, it had to be one complete motion.
Olivo down to second base. DeRosa is back.
Miguel Olivo's not afraid to throw. I mean, he'll throw to second, he'll throw to third. And he's very aggressive back there behind the plate.
Full count. Even if those type catchers aren't throwing anybody out per se, they can still affect the running game just because of their reputation.
Right, and you always got to be on the same page with your middle infielders. They got to be ready to, maybe they have a sign that between each other when I'm going to do this. They recognize you're getting too big a secondary lead, but it will shorten the lead, especially if you try it one time.
The right field line, but hooking, and it's still 3-2 on Martinez. Well, no matter what happens in this inning, the Indians have regained the lead, and that was a huge hit for Asdrubal Cabrera to open the inning with a double after a long, flat bottom of the 6th inning, which included 4 walks rather, by the Indians pitchers, including Alex Gordon with the bases loaded to tie the game at 2. If the Indians had gone down quickly and quietly in this 7th inning, who knows, they might have been done for the day.
When you kind of smelled victory, and all of a sudden you see it eking away, and the walks are where they kind of beat you down. So you're right, Ryan. That could have been it. They could have just folded up the tent and said, that's it for today, and we'll try them tomorrow. They got new life with that leadoff double.
2 on, 1 out. Travis Hafner coming up. Trey Hillman is going to point to the bullpen and bring in Ron Mayhay. Is Jim Mudcat Grant, former major leaguer and the first African American to post a 20-win season in the American League. Recently, Mudcat has dedicated himself to studying and promoting the history of African Americans in baseball. A few years ago, he released the book The Black Aces, baseball's only African American 20-game winners, featuring chapters on each of the African Americans to win at least 20 games in one season, as well as Negro League players who he felt would have won 20 games.
Mudcat's an outstanding outstanding guy. I mean, he's a great storyteller also, and he sort of, I think you made the comment that he kind of reminds you of Buck O'Neil in a way, but if you were to talk to him and listen to his stories, you get that same impression.
Ron Mayhay's third game on to face Travis Hafner. Hafner 0 for 8 against Ron Mayhay. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, on opening day, Jim Thome, a left-hand batter, hit that 3-run home run off of Kyle Farnsworth, and Ron Mayhay was warming up in the bullpen. But Trey Hillman's measuring stick was not necessarily the lefty-lefty matchup. It was how good Kyle Farnsworth's control was. So he left Farnsworth in that day because Farnsworth was throwing strikes, but less control today. So Mayhay gets a chance, and Hafner is going to drive it all the way to the fence. So DeRosa comes around to score. Martinez goes first to third, and the Indians have another 2-run lead.
But Ron's not off to a fast start this one. He had some trouble in the spring, and in his last outing, he gave up a couple base hits, and right here he couldn't get the ball away from Hafner, and Hafner was able to turn on it and drive it down into the right field corner. That's his changeup. It just stayed right there in the center of the plate for him.
So Hafner's first ever hit against Mayhay, and now the Royals will bring the infield in for Shin-Soo Choo with runners at second and third and 1 out. And Choo into left field. The wind pushes it, and that's going to mean another run. So twice in this inning, the Indians have taken advantage of the wind, as Drupal Cabrera, who hit it hard to left field, was able to drive it over to Jesus' head with some help with the wind. And the wind gives Shin-Soo Choo a sacrifice fly, and the Indians a 3-run 7th inning.
Well, like you said, it looks like they, after that long inning, they could have gone away and hit, but Cabrera leading off with that double gave him a little shot of life, and they just started running with it. And we said all along, the Indians are not a bad hitting ball club. You know, we knew they were going to come out of this at some point. You just have to continue to pitch well and take advantage of teams when they're not swinging the bat well.
Ryan Garko 1 for 3 with an RBI. Well, the Indians came in today hitting .246. That's going to improve. You know that. But 4th in the league in home runs, 7th in the league in runs scored. Offense was not going to be a question mark for the Indians this year. It was more the back end of their rotation and their bullpen. All 3 runs in the inning charged to Farnsworth. The inning is over, but 7 come to the plate, 3 score, and the Indians have their biggest lead of the day. Seventh here at Kauffman Stadium. Panera takes us around the American League, where the Tigers are beating up on the White Sox after being postponed yesterday. The Red Sox looking for just their 3rd win. Yankees and Rays have played a couple of blowout games so far. Rangers trying to end a 5-game losing streak. Blue Jays off to a 6-2 start. And this is Alberto Callaspo batting for Tony Pena Jr. in the bottom of the 7th inning. Sharply hit, but righted Cabrera at shortstop. So Eric Wedge stays with Jensen Lewis, even though he walked 3 straight after coming out of the bullpen in relief of Joe Smith. One of those walks with the bases loaded against Alex Gordon, allowing the tying run to score. The Indians in the top of the 7th inning regaining the lead with 3 against Kyle Farnsworth. Two more walks for Coco this afternoon, and a run scored. Into the right field corner and deep. Chu is chasing, and it's off the bottom of the wall, and Coco should turn this into a triple. 3rd triple of the year for Coco Crisp.
I think it's safe to say, Ryan, that Coco's going to be an exciting player for the Royals fans to watch the entire 09 season. And he gets the ball that's up in the zone, and that's where his power is, and he just turns on it. And you know, when he goes around the bags, he's not going to slow down. He's going to make those good turns. And Makes it easy at the third base. I think he's just going to love this park before the year's over.
And now Mike Aviles batting for Willie Bloomquist, taking strike one. I don't think there were as many triples available to him at Jacobs Field in Cleveland and Fenway Park in Boston. There was that deep right center field at Fenway Park, but otherwise not a triples park.
Yeah, it's not unless you get it in that corner.
Royals make it a 2-run game. Aviles coming off the bench to drive home crisp. So the Royals answer right after Cleveland got 3 in the top of the 7th.
It's kind of nice when guys can come off the bench and get a good changeup and just pull it in the hole. Ball stayed down. Mike went down with it and just pulled it between the third base and shortstop hole.
Carl Willis visits Jensen Lewis. We remind you that today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Not a whole lot of drama for the Indians in the first 5 innings with Aaron Laffey and the way he pitched. Got into a bit of a mess in the first inning, but pitched out of it to Carl Willis, and Eric Wedge have been wearing out a path to the pitcher's mound in the last 2 innings. Hit hard to left field. The wind will push it, but the Indians playing DeJesus deep in left field. That is out number 2.
Eric Wedge probably feels like this is one of the guys I'm going to need this year. With a 3-run lead, he can send him back out there and see if he can work through some of the things that weren't going right for him. But Lewis, really, the changeup get hit, the fastball's up high. Just command has just been his big problem.
John Buck 0 for 2 today and 0 for 2 in prior at-bats against Lewis. Batting 4th today, John Buck, as a designated hitter after his 2-home-run game last night.
This is John's first home run in the left center field, up in the dry duct area. And then he came back later in the game with his grand slam to give the Royals some breathing room going into the last inning.
How about the little bat flip, too?
That's when you know you got it.
Good pitch to take on 2-0. Five RBIs for Buck last night, leading the Royals with 8.
It's really interesting reading some of John's comments this morning in the paper where he says, I don't care who's catching. I just come to the ballpark every day thinking about winning the championship. It's time to win.
3-1. He did not have the offensive season that he was hoping for, or the Royals were hoping for, but he also made a commitment to himself before the season began that he was going to put as much energy as possible into helping his pitchers, whether he was behind the plate or Miguel Oliva was behind the plate. And the Royals did take a big step forward last year on the mound. He was going for it all there, 3-2.
And he did also admit that he'd been a little hard-headed, a little slow to want to change, and when he came to spring training, he made his mind, okay, this is Kevin Slice's approach. I'm going to work with it and stay in the center of the field. And he had success in spring training, and now it's just carrying over. I guess we talked a lot about being accountable, and I think that part of his game is coming to him right now.
Jensen Lewis bounces back nicely after getting himself into a jam in this 7th inning, giving up just the 1 run. But everyone in baseball wearing it today. And speaking of second baseman, here's a major league comparison. How does that make you feel? Look at your numbers up against Jackie Robinson.
Feels pretty good.
Frank White and Jackie Robinson also have another big thing in common. Both, if I have my facts straight, were the first 2 second basemen to hit cleanup in the World Series.
Yeah, the only 2.
The only 2 still. Jackie Robinson.
For my knowledge, yeah. For my knowledge, that will.
And I believe yours paid off nicely. Did you not homer that World Series when you're batting 4th?
Homered in the series. Led the series in RBI. I was feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Go ahead. Blow your own horn. That's fine.
I don't have a train.
Mayhay strikes out Ben Francisco to begin the 8th inning. Francisco is 0 for 4. Mayhay 2 straight strikeouts. He got Ryan Garco to end the 7th inning. And now Tony Graffinino. Walked and scored in the 3rd inning. Since then, he has doubled and struck out. Sidney Ponson, 6 innings. Allowed 2 runs, 6 hits. He'll get a no decision. Kyle Farnsworth, a 1/3 of an inning. He allowed 3 runs on 2 hits, also allowed a walk. The Royals had just scored 2 in the bottom of the 6th to tie the game, and the Indians coming right back to get 3. And while the Indians have the lead, the Royals responded with a run in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, that's a good sign from the Royals that they're not going to go away. I mean, they keep battling back, and they did it in spring training, and that's the attitude that they bring to the park every day. Last year, that something like this would happen, and that would be it for today. But with that bullpen that they have and the offense that they have and the confidence that they gained through that offense in spring training, these games were never out of reach. You're only 2 runs down, you're still in the ballgame.
Completely new middle infield for Ron Mayhay in the 8th inning. He has struck out 3 in a row. Mike Avila stays in at shortstop. He's a pinch hitter for Willie Bloomquist, and Alberto Callaspo, who hit for Tony Pena Jr., is at second base. now as Drupal Cabrera. Beautiful bunt. Alex bare hands. Great stretch by Jacobs. Excellent play on both sides of the diamond. Afternoon to be at the ballpark. The Royals down by 2, trying to win their 4th straight game and sweep the Cleveland Indians. Don't forget, after the game, the Fox Sports Kansas City post-game show, Boulevard Royals Live, with Joel Goldberg and Jamie Quirk. Tian, Jacobs, Gordon in the 8th inning, and Eric Wedge showing a lot of confidence in Jensen Lewis, leaving him in the game.
I think he knows eventually he's going to need him to get through this season, and he's one of his guys, so he's going to let him work the kinks out and hopefully get through this inning.
Tian gets it started, and watch him run. Out at second base. I tell you what, though, Frank, as soon as he hit that ball, we've seen enough of Mark Tian where you just knew he was going to try and stretch that into a double.
Yeah, that's one time where you might want to be a little bit smart on your base running. You got 2 outfielders out there, both can cover ground and both have great throwing arms.
So instead of a runner on and nobody out, it's a single. Tian is out 9-6, bringing up Mike Jacobs.
You never want to fault a player for hustling. And in Mark's mind, he's saying, okay, this is going to be a close play. They got to get the ball right on the bag to get me. So anything off one way or the other, he's probably safe. But when you're not safe, then you think back, there's no outs, and you're trying to catch up.
Now, if there were 2 outs in the inning and maybe a 1-run game, that's a no doubt go for it.
That's true, and seeing that Chu fielded the ball and had to make that 360 turn, that actually gave him more time to try to get into second base. He just happened to make a perfect throw to the bag.
Jacobs, as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning, walked. That was right in the middle of Jensen Lewis walking 3 in a row, including walking home the then tying run. Jacobs into deep center field. Sizemore didn't see it off the bat, but it doesn't matter. 2nd home run. Way out of here. So it's a one-run game as Mike Jacobs hits his second home run, a no-doubter.
A no-doubter on a look like a changeup going down and away, and you know down is his area. And that's one that you just have to sit back and admire right there.
Don't see many balls land way up there.
Not at all.
Pitching change for the Indians. Royals down by 1 in the 8th. The 6th inning, and now home run here in the 8th. Our final look at You Call It, presented by Sprint. Stolen bases with a late charge. What would you like to see more of from the Royals on offense this year? It was home runs all day, and now the fans want to see some more stolen bases as Rafael Betancourt takes over with 1 out in the 8th inning to face Alex Gordon, and the base is empty. Betancourt pitched an inning and 2/3 on Monday night. Struck out 2. Alex late on that fastball. It's 0-2.
Yeah, Betancourt's one of those pitchers they say have a short arm. It just real short right over the shoulders real quick. He's got a little light slider, but changes planes, but mainly he pitches up in the zone.
Alex into center field, down around the end of the bat, and takes Sizemore to the warning track. Just missed it. So 2 down, and up comes Miguel Olivo. For 3 today, 0 for 6 in the series. Ball 1. Olivo and Betancourt. Miguel is 2 for 7 with a home run. Pounded to deep left field. Straighten out. Just foul.
Miguel finally got a pitch middle in that he could handle a little bit down and really jumped all over it. Looked like a slider that just stayed inside. It just backed up. And he opened up on it real quick, and those hands just got too quick. John Buck is anticipating a home run. He's ready to jump over the rail right there.
and goes with a fastball away.
That's the one thing I think Miguel's going to have to start doing, Ryan, is starting to try to drive the ball back this way so he can keep that front shoulder in. And what Kevin's saying is if you concentrate that way, when you get a pitch like that, you won't have to keep it fair, then the hook and foul.
Two and two. Three homers between those two guys. The last two games, John Buck 2 last night, Mike Jacobs with a home run earlier in this inning. Levo strikes out. He's 0 for 4. Mike Jacobs makes it a one-run game. His second home run on the base of the fountains in center field. Joel Goldberg and Jamie Quirk from Rival Sports Bar out in right field. Just filled up again today. Highlights and analysis. And talk about Billy Butler's defense at first base, post-game interviews, and then a preview of the Royals' next series, which begins on Friday in Arlington. Here's Horacio Ramirez. Took the loss on Saturday as the Royals starter to the Yankees, giving up 6 runs in 4 1/3. And the Royals, with a number of off days coming up, aren't going to need a 5th starter, so he can be used out of the bullpen.
And that's not unfamiliar territory to him. That's what he did for the Royals last year.
1-1 on Grady Sizemore. To Sizemore. Horacio pitched 15 games for the Royals last year, 17 for the White Sox, and again that's driven over to Jesus Head in left field. So twice in the last 3 innings, the Royals have been burned by DeJesus playing shallow in left. The wind isn't as strong now as it was earlier in the game, but it's still blowing at a pretty good clip towards left field.
Well, the ball is really jumping in that direction. I'm like you, Ryan. I'm surprised he's playing that shallow because the ball really jumps with that wind. It just, before he can even turn around, the ball's already over his head.
And at this point in the game, a one-run game late in the game, you're not playing in your normal ninth inning defending against the extra base hit depth, but you're pretty close to it, aren't you?
Well, you got to be close to it because if they get hits, you want them to get 3 hits in a row. You don't want to give up the double if you can avoid it. So it's a game when the outfield coach say no doubles. And no doubles mean once you play as deep as you can, and the ball either has to get high off the wall or be out of the ballpark, and we can accept that. But you're right. You have to be deeper, but not quite that deep.
The Cabrera one is a little more understandable because that's the number 9 hitter. You don't expect a whole lot of pop from him. But Grady Sizemore know all about his power. Of course, in a ballpark this big, unless you're standing near the warning track, you're going to look like you're playing shallow. And now Mark DeRosa. I was saying that Ramirez last year, 15 games with the Royals, and had an excellent ERA, 2.59, then was traded to the White Sox, where he pitched in 17 games. His ERA was over 7.5. And it's not that Ramirez lost anything when he went over to Chicago, but the thought was maybe they didn't use him properly. The Royals, in 15 games, he pitched 24 innings. In 17 games, 13 innings. So fewer innings than appearances. They used him as a kind of a left-handed specialist, and that's not really his strength. That's into deep right field. Should advance Sizemore. The Indians looking for some insurance in the 9th inning as Kerry Wood warms up in the bullpen.
Yeah, DeRosa does a great job in going to the right side and driving the ball deep enough to get Sizemore over to third base and put him in scoring position.
Ramirez was successful with the Royals last year, pitching in the middle innings and giving the Royals 2 or 3 innings a pop, going through the order one time. That's not how the White Sox used him. The Royals are going to put Martinez on and set up a lefty-lefty matchup with Ramirez and Travis Hafner.
You know, Brian, to be a lefty specialist, you got to have a couple special pitches. You got to have either a real hard slider that you can break in there, and to these left-handers, you got to have a sinking fastball that you can move in and out, just kind of jam them with. But if you right over the top, they don't have that exploding fastball. It's kind of hard to see your left-handed specialist. Some of the better left-handed specialists, see the ones that just got a good breaking ball period. Then the ones that really do well are the ones that can come out of the bullpen and throw first pitch breaking ball over for a strike.
Some will have just some sort of a funky part to their delivery, like Jamie Walker with Baltimore coming in sidearm. Jimmy Gobble a couple of years ago had success against lefty when he was throwing sidearm.
You got to have that lower 3/4 arm slide. The ball's got to have movement, and then you also have to be able to reach that extension side of the plate once you get ahead of it.
Now it appears that maybe Trey Hillman is not setting up a Ramirez-Hafner matchup. Instead, he wants to bring in Robinson Tejeda to face Travis Hafner with runners at the corners, 1 down in the 9th inning. In the bottom of the 8th inning to make it a 1-run game, and now the Indians threatening in the top of the 9th. First and third, one out. Robinson Tejeda on to face Travis Hafner.
Well, Tejeda came in last night just to face one batter and did a great job striking him out. And that was it for his night last night.
That was in relief of Kyle Davies and pitching against rookie Trevor Crowe.
Well, this is what he came in to do last night and just threw a fastball right by him. Started him off with a changeup and then finished him hard with a fastball.
Travis Hafner was 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts, and left 8 runners on base himself on Monday. But today, a walk, 2 doubles, a run scored, and his 7th RBI. Tejeda hits the inside corner. Sizemore opened the inning with a double. He's at third. Martinez, an intentional walk, is at first. And Tejeda's ahead, no balls, 2 strikes.
And Hafner had a real good swing at that pitch. That was right in his zone, but didn't get it. And that's usually a good indication that the fastball got a little life to it.
Royals in the bottom of the 9th will have Alberto Callaspo, Coco Crisp, and Mike Aviles. Get him on the foot. Runner coming to the plate. Olivo got him. That's a tough play because he had to somehow find that ball through Travis Hafner's legs.
Well, we know how fast he moves. Once he blocks the ball, he picks it up pretty quick. The thing about Miguel, he's not afraid to stick his head in there. That's pretty much called burying a guy at the plate. That's just making sure you just get him out of there and get him off the plate. Miguel's not afraid to get in there and mix it up that way.
Catchers don't usually get a shot like that. Usually they're the ones taking the shot.
That's true. Well, Sizemore, really, when you have third base and the ball goes off to the first base side, it's a tough ball to read. And your hitter have to help you a lot. That's when the hitter has to put his hand up and tell you to come or stay. And so if you any doubt, you got to stay.
No doubt that one hit Hafner after Tejeda just missed him the pitch before. The Royals did appeal down to the third base umpire Dan Isonia. Had Hafner swung, and it would have been a strikeout.
You can see right here, it looks like it might have hit him in the knee and just went down to his foot. But the foot's been hit a lot in this series. We've seen a lot of front foot toe getting hit, back toe getting hit. I don't know if the guys are not picking the ball up or they're just afraid to hit the dirt. One of the two.
Well, you never want to get hit in the foot, but if you're going to get hit, I'd rather it be 67 degrees outside than 37 degrees.
Well, that's the truth.
Chu just got a piece of that. 1-1. 2 hits for Shin-Soo Choo. And he capped the Indians' 3-run 7th inning with a sacrifice fly. That's the big inning of the game. The Royals had just tied the game at 2 in the bottom of the 6th and had taken the momentum in the game after a long bottom of the 6th with 4 walks. The Indians came right back with 3 in the 7th. Just missed the outside. Royals with single runs in the bottom of the 7th. and the bottom of the 8th. Shallow center. Coco's got it measured, and that's the inning. Tejeda does a great job. Gets out of a first and third, one out. Royals will face Kerry Wood when we come back. The Royals out of a mess. First and third, one out in a one-run game, and Robinson Tejeda holds the Indians scoreless. Cleveland Indians are the last team in the American League without a save. Kerry Wood, new to the Indians this year, signing as a free agent, has pitched in 2 non-save situations. Former Chicago Cubs sensation. Last year was on the disabled list because of a blister, but that was the 12th time in his career he went to the DL.
I know the Cubs waited a long time to see if he can come back as a starter, but I guess the wear and tear was just a little too much for his arm.
96 with that first pitch to Alberto Callaspo. He's a good fastball hitter. .34 saves last year for the Chicago Cubs.
And watching him pitch, and he had that power fastball, and then he got a power slider.
Boy, the Indians guarding the line. Garco fighting it to the death, but any other situation other than one-run game, 9th inning, Garco's not guarding the line.
He's not guarding the line, and that's a double possible triple for Callaspo. Yeah, you have a lot of managers who don't really like to play that way. They figure more balls are going to go in the base hit hole than down the line. So a lot of managers, like Buddy Bell was one of those managers that didn't believe in playing the line.
And the thinking that trying to avoid the extra base hit, so you guard the lines, you play the outfield deep. That paid off for Eric Wedge. Coco Crisp had another good day. 2 runs scored, 2 walks, and his 3rd triple of the year. Sizemore flips the shades down. You don't see guys do that very often. They just wear the regular sunglasses. It's kind of old school to see the flip shades like Sizemore has.
Well, those are, to me, a lot better quality than the Oakleys and some of the things the guys stick on top of their hats, and they go on the walls and flying all over the place. So when you got these flip downs, to me, those are the best ones to use.
Now Micah Vilas. Kerry Wood, the #1 overall pick in the 1995 draft by the Cubs, and the Cubs really thought they had something special with Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor at the top of their rotation. 2003, Kerry Wood led the major leagues with 266 strikeouts. Mark Pryor was second, but from that point on, all kinds of injuries. Of the 12 times Kerry Wood has been on the disabled list, 5 times because of his shoulder. He also had Tommy John surgery with the Cubs. 98 at the knees over the inside corner. Hang with him.
Whoa. That's one pitch that after a long day, you see a pitch like that, you figure, how am I going to catch up with it?
And a breaking ball pounded into center, but right at Sizemore, so the Indians avoid the sweep. The Royals wouldn't go away today. A couple of times the Indians tried to pull away with a